So the second stage on my journey to cover the entire stage roster of Street Fighter 2 is Fei Long's stage. I've gotten so many comments on the Cammy video asking me to do some of the other Street Fighter 2 stages that I figured I might as well make it into a series. But before I get into it, it would help me out a lot if you gave this video a like and subscribed if you want to see the rest of the series. The first appearance of Fei Long's stage in Hong Kong is in Street Fighter 2: The New Challengers. And when I personally think of this stage, the first thing that comes to mind are the two dragons resting on the clouds in the Phoenix. They're standing in what appears to be some sort of cave with either ice or crystals lining the sides, and some carvings in the wall, which may be a destroyed sculpture of sorts, or maybe just some abstract carvings. In traditional Chinese culture, dragons and phoenixes are sacred animals that were often thought of as the real-life incarnations of the emperor and empress, respectively, and Chinese people consider themselves to be descended from dragons. As such, the dragon and phoenix were commonly seen motifs in buildings and clothing, for example, which would likely explain their appearance here. On a personal note, when I was a kid, I always thought that since the dragons and phoenix on the stage flap around and screech when the round ends, I thought this stage was some sort of mystical fantasy cave populated by magical creatures. But after doing the research for this video, I now know that no, it's actually based on a real-life garden. Specifically, it's based on the Haw Par Villa Gardens in Hong Kong, which opened in the early 1950s. Also known as the Tiger Balm Gardens, the park was opened by the Ah family, who created the garden to promote their Tiger Balm products. The garden was created to give the illusion of being inside a fantasy land and was built in the Chinese eclectic style. In 1985, the garden was officially converted into the Haw Par Villa amusement park, but unfortunately in 2004 was largely demolished due to financial issues, except for a few select areas of the park, including the main mansion, which you can still see today. Now, switching gears to the stage itself, your characters appear to be fighting on some sort of balcony. But as far as I could tell, in real life, this balcony doesn't actually exist. In fact, the whole area is on top of what appears to be a parking garage, though in other photos it looks like they cleaned up the place a bit. However, there is another photo of a similar scene where you can see a balcony here in the left corner of this photo with a phoenix and some dragons as well. This photo really confused me because when I was initially doing research for the stage, I thought that these were the same place. But upon closer examination, you can see that the creatures appear in slightly different positions, and there are some small details like mini pagodas that aren't in the original photo either. Furthermore, in the background of the Street Fighter stage, you can also see some shrubs and some buildings as well. However, one big thing that might be missing in this stage is the huge white pagoda that was a prominent feature in the actual gardens. It's possible that you can't see the tower from this stage's angle, but given that it was the featured landmark of the gardens and way taller than the rest of the structures, I find it a bit odd that this wasn't included. Finally, the red mat on the floor directly translates to Haw Par Villa Mansion. As for the stage song, I definitely like it. In particular, I think that the cymbal at the beginning really starts the song off with a bang. I like how it has notes of traditional Chinese music in the melody, but comes off as more modern and energetic with the guitar in the background. I feel like it could be the background music in an old martial arts action movie. The Street Fighter 2 Turbo version of Fei Long's stage differs from the New Challengers in that, for one thing, the game speed is faster. The second difference is specifically in the 3DO version of this game, which had a totally different soundtrack with remix versions of all of the Street Fighter songs. They're all super cool, and I would definitely encourage you to check them out if you haven't already. With that being said, Fei Long's song in the 3DO soundtrack is excellent. It almost sounds a little bit sinister in the beginning with the discordant minor notes in the background, but once the melody hits, it sounds pretty authentic to the original. You can also hear some wood blocks and other added percussion in the background, which I think lends it an edgier vibe. I do prefer this version compared to the original, but both are really good. A different version of the stage appears in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix, where everything has a slightly altered position and is more zoomed in, perhaps so that the developers had less things to draw, but who knows. In this version, the creatures are much closer to the foreground than before, and only have 2 frames of animation, similar to the crows in Cammy's stage, but still do their little screech at the end of the round. This screech kind of sounds like Godzilla's roar from the movies, so I kind of suspect that this might be a sample sound, but that's just a hunch of mine. Another difference is that the words on the floor are much more cut off than before, and you can't see the city in the upper left corner at all. Otherwise, this stage is pretty similar to the one in the new challengers. And can I just say, Turbo HD Remix's soundtrack goes fucking hard. In Fei Long's theme, called Flying Heaven, I love the deep notes at the beginning, the strings, the guqing carrying the melody, and further in the song, the experimentation with the minor key. A total banger by Zircon from the website OC Remix, which I've also mentioned before in my Cammy video. This is truly like the ultimate cyberpunk action movie soundtrack, and I absolutely love it. Definitely one of my favorites on this album. The Turbo HD Remix stage is also the same one as in Ultra Street Fighter 2, with the only exception being the song. Ultra Street Fighter 2 song is, by contrast, much more traditional sounding, with tons of added instrumentation, such as the sounds of the erhu and the gong, which I think really adds to that effect. This version has this smooth, sort of calmer sound, but is still very energetic in the melody. Definitely gives me more sort of drama movie vibes, but again, very excellent. Thank you all for watching. For this video, I wanted to pick a quicker Street Fighter 2 stage that wouldn't be as crazy to cover like the Cammy one. However, I definitely don't want to be covering just Capcom games. I'd like to make videos on a variety of other series regardless of the views I get, so if you have any great ideas for the next one, please put it in the comments. Thanks again, and I'll see y'all next time.